So we're hoping again to make it smoother as we go here. Just for people that don't know me, my name is Mike Capali, and I am the president of In a Heartbeat. In a Heartbeat is a nonprofit organization based out of Connecticut, and we do a lot of work dedicated to heart disease. We buy and donate AEDs. We do CPR and AED training. We raise money for heart disease research. We have support programs for patients, and we are starting to offer free EKGs for kids this year. So we're relatively new nonprofit, but we're growing. If you are watching on Zoom, and you'd love to learn more about what we do, you can always check us out on Facebook or visit our website, which is www.inaheartbeat.org. So the point of the session today is to give you a quick demonstration on what to do if someone were to go into cardiac arrest. And I'm really happy that we have a good amount of people here on the call. And I apologize if I have to get up and admit people into the meeting here, because clearly one of these settings is off, but I'm going to just do that as we go here. But it's a really good skill, especially with everybody being at home, and statistically 70% of cardiac arrests do happen at the home. So it's a really good skill. It's really important. And just based on this 30 minutes, which we're going to try to keep it to, you're going to have enough knowledge, hopefully, to do what you need to do to save somebody's life. The reason why I'm sitting here right now and teaching this course to you and doing these demonstrations is because I am a cardiac arrest survivor. I went into cardiac arrest when I was 17, and I got really lucky that I was able to survive. That's how I got into CPR AED training, and why I have so much passion for this cause. So if anybody has any questions as we go, the way we're going to do this is in Zoom. You can leave a comment. You can make a comment, and at the end I'll go back to it and read through the questions and answer them live. If you're on Facebook Live, you can do the same. I believe what I'll probably do with those is review the questions and answer them after the call ends. But again, if you have any questions about anything I say, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and we'll get to them at the end. So today what we're going to do is we're going to focus on three things. We're going to focus on how to assess a sudden cardiac arrest scene and kind of scene safety and assessment. We're going to talk about hands-only CPR, and we're going to talk about how to use an AED. All right, so again, I'm just going to admit the rest of the people into this meeting, and then we'll get going here. Okay, so all right, first thing, if you were to walk down the stairs or be out taking a walk out in the street and somebody were to collapse on the ground, what would you do? So the first thing you want to do is you always want to make sure that the scene is safe. You don't want to put yourself in a situation that's going to hurt you and cause you any harm. So you always want to look side to side, look up. Just take a moment to make sure that you going to help the person is not going to put you in harm's way. All right. Once you do that, when someone goes into sudden cardiac arrest, they're going to be completely unresponsive. It happens very suddenly. It happens a lot of times without warning. It happens, basically instantly. They might start to stumble. They might be dizzy, but they're going to go down, and they're probably going to be just laying flat on the ground, completely unresponsive. So the first thing you're doing is you're walking up to that person, and you're kneeling on the side of them, and you're going to hit them on the shoulders and yell, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" All right. So you shake and shout, and you want to see if the person responds to you. All right, because someone in cardiac arrest is not going to respond. All right, they're not gonna respond to you hitting them. They're not going to react to you yelling at them, and you want to try to get a physical or a verbal reaction from them. All right, and again, someone in sudden cardiac arrest is not going to give you any sort of reaction at all. After you do that, you want to call for help. Right, if you were out taking a walk and you're walking down the road and nobody's around, call for help, because the more people you have around, the better chance it is for the person, because you're going to have different people doing different jobs to help you. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. You might be alone. You might have nobody around that can help you. So if you're in that situation, we all have cell phones. You want to take your cell phone out, put it on speaker mode, call 911, and put the phone right next to the head. So if you are in that situation, you know, that you just do the best you can. So if people are around, you want to give people jobs to do, right? So you want somebody to call 911. You want somebody to go get an AED if there's one available. Unfortunately, with a lot of us being home, a lot of us don't carry AEDs in the home, but you never know. Tell somebody to go get an AED. And the third thing you want to do is you want to send somebody outside, especially if you were in your home, to wait down the ambulance. And I'm going to talk about all three of those really quick. So first thing, call 911. When you call 911, if you are alone, most dispatchers now are actually going to give you instructions. So they're going to help you with what we call telephone CPR. So they're going to ask you if you're trained or certified in CPR, and you're either going to say yes or no. They're going to ask you if you're comfortable giving CPR. And if you say yes, they're actually going to kind of walk you through it. They're going to tell you where to put your hands. They're going to tell you to count, and they're going to try to give you direction on, you know, whether or not you're doing it too fast, too slow, and just to try to put your mind at ease. Because if you're in the situation, unfortunately, you're probably gonna be losing your mind a little bit. You're probably gonna be freaking out. This isn't something that happens every day. And as you know, the bystander that isn't necessarily an EMT or a trained medical professional, it's gonna be a very, very scary situation to be in. So the dispatcher is actually gonna help you. Another thing about when you call 911, you want to make it really clear that somebody is unconscious on the ground. You know, tell them, you know, they're probably going to ask you details: male, female, approximate age, are they breathing? And if they're not breathing, you need to tell them that. They're going to be relaying all this information to the dispatchers, so that the dispatchers can be equipped with whatever they need to be coming in with when they're in an ambulance. So just know that when you call 911, you give your location, they dispatch an ambulance, and then they're going to come back on, and they're going to be asking you these detailed questions so they can be passing this information along to the people in the ambulance. Now, one thing you don't want to be worried that those questions are delaying the arrival in the ambulance, because they're not. You know, the ambulance has already been dispatched, and the dispatcher's actually relaying this information right to the people in the ambulance. So when they get to the scene, they're prepared for what they're walking into. So that's call 911. Second thing, go get an AED. You know, you want someone, obviously, if someone's in cardiac arrest, they need to get shocked by an AED. So if you're, you know, unfortunately, again, like I said, we're all home right now, so you might not have access, but you never know. Maybe someone has one in their home. Maybe you're by a local business that has one. You're out going for a walk, and you can send someone in to potentially grab one. So you want to tell someone to go get an AED and bring it back. The third thing, you want to tell someone to go outside and wave down the ambulance. This is really important because, you know, they have the address, they know where they're going. But with sudden cardiac arrest, it's so time critical. When you're in a neighborhood, sometimes the numbers aren't really big. It's hard to read the numbers in the house or in the mailbox. If you have someone outside, like waving down the ambulance, they know exactly where to go. And that could save a minute or two. And a minute or two in sudden cardiac arrest can make all the difference. So again, while you're doing this, you know, you're down, you tap and shout, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" You want to make it very clear who's doing what. So don't just yell out, "Hey, somebody call 911, someone will get an AED." Make it clear. You call 911, you go get an AED, you go outside and wait for the ambulance. You point at them, you use their name. All right, take control of the situation the best that you can. Okay, next step, you're checking for breathing. All right, so there's a couple ways to check for breathing. You can look for chest rise. So you can look for the chest going up and down. If someone's laying on their back and they were breathing normally, you would see the chest going up and down. A lot of times, you know, especially even right now, it's still pretty cold outside. Someone might be wearing a pretty heavy jacket. So you might not be able to see chest rise. So you can actually put your hand over the lower part of the breastbone, or put your hand over the mouth and nose and try to feel for warm air coming out. And those are a couple other ways you can check for breathing. But when we check for breathing, the key is this: we want to look for 100% normal breathing. Because a lot of times when someone goes into cardiac arrest, they start agonal gasping, and that's not normal breathing. Agonal gasping basically sounds like long, drawn-out snorts, snores, groans, gasp for air. If someone is doing that, they're in cardiac arrest. That is a very, very big sign of cardiac arrest, and that person needs CPR. So do not make the mistake that that person's okay because they're making those noises. Okay, when we say we're looking for breathing, we're looking for 100% normal breathing. And if it is not normal breathing, you immediately start doing CPR. One of the things the American Heart Association has done in the last few years is they tried to make this process of assessing the scene as easy and simple as possible for the bystander. So they don't want you to necessarily have to check for a pulse anymore or open the airway. They want you to make a quick determination. Is the person breathing? Are they not breathing? And if they're not breathing, they need CPR immediately. All right, so this all is going to happen pretty quickly. So scene safety and assessment. All right, I'm not going to stand up because I'll go out of the screen, but you look side to side, you look up. All right, then you bend down, to the side of the person, you're tapping out. Are you okay? Are you okay? Help, help, I need some help. Hey, you call 911. You go get an AED. You go outside and wait down the ambulance. All right, if you don't have any of those things, you call 911 and put it on speakerphone. All right, you check for breathing. Person's not breathing. Okay, they need CPR. And that happens instantly within like 10 seconds. And the quicker you can start making the determination that they need CPR, the better chances this person has of surviving. Okay, so the next step in this, we're going to talk about hands-only CPR. A lot of people might have gotten certified in the past, or they have taken different classes. When we do certification classes, we do still teach giving breath. We're not going to talk about it today, just because of for sake of time. But one of the the compressions are the most important part of the CPR. And one of the big emphasis in the last couple of years has been on hands-only CPR, not giving breath. So if you are able to give breath, yes, it does help. But if you're not, don't feel like you can't help. You can still help somebody by doing hands-only CPR. All right. And the key to doing CPR, hands-only CPR, is once you start, you don't stop until either EMS arrives or until an AED arrives. Okay. When you're doing CPR on someone in sudden cardiac arrest, the CPR is going to buy them time. It's going to keep oxygen flowing throughout their body and blood pumping. But the person isn't going to come back from a sudden cardiac arrest just by CPR alone. They need to get shocked. So once you start doing your CPR, don't stop. All right. So the key for hand placement here, okay, the easiest line that we have is we use the line across the nipples. Okay. The upper part of the chest, we put the palm of one hand, all right, in the center part of the chest. All right, right on the nipple line. Okay. Another way you can find that is everybody has a notch in their chest called a xiphoid. So if you look at the mannequin, all right, this is a symbol symbolizing the xiphoid right here, this little notch right here. We all have it. You can go, 2 to 3 fingers right above the xiphoid. It'll put you right in the perfect spot. Okay, so palm of one hand in the center of the chest, whatever hand you're comfortable with. Okay, and then you want to put your other hand on top, all right, either by interlocking or placing it on top. I prefer to interlock my hands. I think it's more comfortable and it gets more leverage. All right, you want to be really close to the side of the person, right? You want to be up and over the body, so you have a knee at the shoulder, knee at the waist, okay? One hand in the center of the chest, other hand on top, okay? And you're pushing straight down in the center of the chest, okay? I have my elbows locked in. I lean my body over, all right, so I can use my body weight. All right, so I can do my compressions at a rate of about 100 to 120 compressions per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, I'm going to stop at 15. If you were giving breath, you would do 30 compressions to every 2 breaths. Again, if you're not giving breath, you just do straight up chest compressions until either EMS arrives or until that AED arrives. A couple things that can happen in doing chest compressions. Number one, if you are pushing down in the chest, it doesn't necessarily always happen, but you can crack a rib or break a rib. If you hear what might sound like knuckles cracking, or if you hear, or if the chest gets flimsy, don't feel like you did something wrong. You don't want to stop. The key is, no matter what happens, not stopping. If you stop, you're really giving the person no chance to survive. Someone in sudden cardiac arrest is clinically dead, and they can't get worse. Okay, so they can heal from a broken rib. And that's the fear a lot of people have is, am I going to do something wrong? Okay, you didn't do anything wrong if that happens. You're giving the person that's down, a family member, a friend, a complete stranger, the best possible chance of surviving just by doing those chest compressions. We say to count out loud. The reason for that is because it helps you keep a beat, it helps you keep a rhythm. And also if you are giving your 2 breaths, if you are breathing for the person, you know, it lets you know where you're at in your count. So you hit 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, I need to give 2 breaths. And that's pretty much it with chest compressions. I mean, again, it's the most important part of the CPR. You want to start it immediately if you have any doubt. The best way that someone doesn't need CPR is that if you start and they tell you to stop or they say ow, then you know they don't need CPR. But of course, someone that's in cardiac arrest is unconscious and they're not going to be able to feel what you're doing to them. This is where one of the differences between infants, children, and adults. An infant, you would use 2 fingers in the same area. So 2 fingers, center part of the chest. On a child, a really small child, you know, they say you don't want to push quite as far. So they start with 1 hand. Okay, so if I was on a small child, I might start like this. But if you start to get tired, if you start to feel like you're not being effective, add your second hand. All right, just complete feel. All right, if you feel like you're not strong enough or you're too tired to use 1 hand, you would use 2 hands. It's always better to go too deep and too fast rather than not deep enough and not fast enough. Okay, and the key with compressions is you want to give a full recoil in the chest. So you push the chest down, let it come all the way back up before you push it down again. And I'll give one more demonstration. And again, if anybody has any questions throughout this, you can feel free to put them in the comments and we'll definitely get to the questions at the end. Okay, but palm of 1 hand in the center of the chest. I have a knee at the elbow, knee at the shoulder, knee at the waist. Okay, I interlock my other hand on top. I'm up and over the body. My elbows are locked in and I'm pushing straight down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And it gets tiring. So if you have other people around, you know, it's good to trade on and off. You know, as you get more tired, naturally your compressions are going to get less effective. So if you have other trained people around that can help, you know, it's a good idea to trade on and off to keep those compressions more effective. Okay, so the next part of this, we're going to talk about using an AED. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the AED. This is an AED trainer. This looks exactly like the FibTech AED. The only difference is that instead of having the red handle and the red on the sides, the actual units have black. So a couple misconceptions about the AED. A lot of people think an AED can hurt somebody. A lot of people think that they can shock somebody that doesn't need to be shocked. A lot of people are worried about pressing the shock button because they're unsure. So these machines are really, really smart, and they're designed so that anybody could use them without any training. Okay, you cannot shock somebody that does not need to be shocked. The machine actually reads rhythms. It determines if a person has a rhythm that's shockable, and if it needs a shock, it will. If it doesn't need a shock, it won't. So the example I always use when I teach classes, if you took a live unit, turned it on and put the pads on me, you would not be able to shock me because the AED would read that I have a normal heart rhythm and not allow me to be shocked. Okay, so the great thing about these machines is they talk to you and they're not going to do anything. They go step by step and they won't move from step 1 to step 2 until step 1's completed. They won't move from step 2 to step 3 until step 2 is completed. So it's going to talk you right through it. The most important thing you have to remember with these machines is to turn them on. Okay, you turn them on and they talk to you and you listen to it. Okay, the pads, all right, on this unit, they sit in the back. Okay, so they have pictures on them and I'll pull them out so you can see them. Okay, the pictures show exactly where the pads go. All right, and I apologize if there's a glare. I can't tell if it's on the screen, but one pad goes in the top right under the collarbone. Other pad goes on the left side under the armpit. Okay, so the pads show you exactly where they go. Okay, I am going to run through this so you can hear what it sounds like, and then I'm going to turn it off and talk a little bit more about it. All right, so if you're down there, you're doing CPR, okay, and the AED arrives, 1 of 2 things could happen. All right, the person that comes with the AED might know how to use it. They might be comfortable with it. If that's the case, all right, you can do your chest compressions. All right, you're doing your compressions. All right, that person can come in. They can set the AED up around while you're doing chest compressions. That's one scenario. That's a good case scenario, right, to get a few more compressions in. Other cases that the person comes with the AED and they have absolutely no idea what to do. And unfortunately, this might happen. All right, they might not be comfortable with it. The most important thing is that that AED gets used as soon as possible. So if that person isn't comfortable setting up, you have to stop doing your chest compressions and you need to, put the pads on and use the AED. Okay. An AED, statistically, if someone's shocked within a minute, they have a 90% chance of surviving. Each minute after decreases that person's survival 10%. So we're talking like a 10-minute window where the person virtually has no chance, a 5-minute window where the person has a 50% chance of surviving. So the quicker this machine is used, the absolute better it is. Okay. Someone in cardiac arrest needs to get shocked as soon as possible. All right. I just want to make that as clear. If there's an AED in the area and someone is assessed as being in cardiac arrest, the AED needs to be grabbed and used as absolutely soon as possible. Okay. So I'm going to run through it. All right, green on button, really simple, right? Green on button. There's other manufacturers out there that might have a lid. They might have a green on button on the cover. They all do the same thing. Once you turn them on, they talk to you. Okay, so you turn the AED on.
Training mode. Call for help. Remove pads.
Okay. Again, pads will be in the back.
Pads to patient's bare chest, as shown.
Okay. We want to peel one pad at a time and place it.
Pads to patient's bare chest, as shown. Apply pads to patient's bare chest.
Okay, and these pads are not as sticky as regular pads, but you can see.
Apply pads to patient's bare chest.
Top right, bottom left. Once the pads are in the right place, you will hear.
Remove pads from package in back of you. Analyzing.
It'll start to analyze the heart rhythm.
Touch the patient.
Clear. I look up and down the body. I make sure it's clear.
Shock advised. Charging.
Determines the need to shock.
Clear. Press flashing.
Okay, just so you can see, it's the shock button is flashing at me.
Press flashing shock.
All right, I make sure it's clear. I shock.
1 delivered.
Person might
to touch the
come
patient.
off the ground a little bit.
Begin CPR now.
And then it's going to tell me to do my CPR, and it gives me a CPR beat.
Continue.
Okay, I'm going to turn the machine off because it'll keep talking me down to do CPR for about 2 minutes. And then it's going to come on and analyze again and determine if the person needs a second shock. So again, really simple to use. Just listen to the instructions. You cannot hurt somebody. You cannot shock somebody that doesn't need to be shocked. They're really, really just straight up life-saving devices. So they might be intimidating, but the key is you just turn them on and listen to them. And if you have to hit the shock button, it's telling you to hit the shock button because the machine reads a rhythm that needs to be shocked. So just to clarify a couple things, you heard those beeps. The machine is programmed to go shock, 2 minutes of CPR, analyze again, determine if another shock is needed. So as you're doing your CPR, you leave the pads right on. All right, you're doing your CPR. It's going to tell you continue CPR for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it's going to tell you to stand clear again. You stand clear. All right, anytime the machine says analyzing or stand clear or back away, you look up and down the body. All right, use your arms and make sure nobody is touching the person. Okay, make sure nobody's holding onto the feet, because if someone is there with a loved one and you're doing your work up by the head and the chest, they're probably going to be down by the feet holding on. And you don't want someone to potentially get shocked if they don't need to get shocked, because that could happen to somebody if they're holding onto the legs. And you don't want the machine to take longer to analyze than it needs to. Okay. Second thing, make sure you have the AED right on the side of the head that you're working on. All right, you don't want to get shocked either. So don't put the AED across the body so you have to reach across. Have it right next to you. All right, so you can back up an inch or two from the body and hit shock without bumping into the nose. A couple other scenarios. Your AED should have, when it comes, a ready kit that has a CPR mask, razor, scissors, wipes, gloves. These are all things you might need in an emergency. Okay, a CPR mask, can go over the face and be used to give breath. Scissors could be used to just cut up the center of a shirt to remove the shirt, because these pads have to be on direct skin. Razor, if someone has a really hairy chest, a razor could be used to touch up the area so the pads stick better. Wipes, if the person maybe was sweating, we want to make sure where we're sticking the pads is as dry as possible. And then gloves, just so you can protect yourself if you feel more comfortable wearing gloves. If someone's in a pool, they need to be removed from the pool. They can't be engulfed in water. All right, if someone's in a small puddle or has a little bit of water on them, the water can just be kind of just wiped off really quick and you don't have to really worry about it. A couple other scenarios, people that have pacemakers and people that have defibrillators. Pacemaker and defibrillator is usually on the left side of the chest. They could get moved over here, and they could be on the side over here. All right, so you don't want to put pad directly over metal. So you put it to the side of it, either side. Put it right below it. If it's on the side over here, you just go right below it. You just don't want to put pad directly over metal. You don't want, if someone has a port, if someone is going in for treatment, don't put it directly over the port. If someone's wearing a medicine patch, you would put your gloves on, remove the medicine patch, wipe down that area before you place the pads. And I think that's pretty much it for some big scenarios that I could think of. And again, if you have any specific questions, please feel free to ask in the comments section or on Facebook if you're watching. You can use, so they do make child pads for children, but they're not very common. You probably will only see them if you're at an organization that serves primarily children, like a daycare, elementary school, something like that. If a child goes into cardiac arrest, which does happen, and you don't have child pads, you can use the adult pads on a child. So if you have a really small child, what you would simply do is you would take this pad and you would just put it in the center of the chest, and you would take this pad and you would put it in the center of the back between the shoulder blades. Okay, so small child, you would just go front and back. Okay, and you can use the adult pads on the child. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it with the AED. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. And I think that's pretty much everything that we want to talk about today. So again, just to kind of give you a quick summary. All right, scene safety and assessment. Tap and shout, are you okay? Are you okay? Someone in cardiac arrest is going to be unresponsive, unconscious, it's going to happen immediately. Call for help. Call 911, get an AED, and go outside and wait for the ambulance. Check for breathing. Remember, when someone is in cardiac arrest, they might be making noises like agonal gasps, snorts, snores, groans, anything like that. That's not normal breathing. All right, hands only CPR, palm of one hand in the center of the chest, bare skin, other hand on top, elbows locked in, knee at the shoulder, knee at the waist, pushing straight down. All right, 100 to 120 compressions per minute. All right, AED, all you have to do is turn it on. You cannot hurt somebody with an AED. You can only help them. Just listen to the instructions. Listen to what it tells you to do. When it says clear the body, hit shock, and then you go back to giving your chest compressions until it decides to analyze again. That's all I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my computer. I'm going to answer the questions in the Zoom call. Just a reminder to everybody, if you have to duck out for work or for anything, today, April 6th, April 13th, and April 20th, we're doing this again. So please share this with your family and friends. Please give feedback if there's anything like you would like me to add or talk more about, talk less about. I would be happy to include more, include less, whatever. We want to make this effective for people that are sitting at home and it can take 30 minutes just to learn this life-saving skill. So please give feedback. Please visit us on our website, www.inaheartbeat.org. Visit us on our Facebook, In a Heartbeat Foundation. And I'm just going to stand up. My knees are happy. I'm standing up. I'm going to grab my computer and I'm going to go through and see if there's any questions on here. I don't see anything on here. I think somebody asked one on Facebook. The question was, If you come across a person who is unresponsive, but you don't know for how long, what should you do in that case? Okay, so that's a great question. Um, if you're in that situation, it is best to, and I actually learned this from some people from the Fit Tech last time I did some training over there. Um, it is best to start CPR immediately. It's obviously, you always want to activate the emergency response team. So you want to start CPR immediately. You want to call 911. If you have an AED or there's an AED there, you need someone to get it. But it would help to give a couple cycles of CPR. If it's an unwitnessed arrest, a couple cycles of CPR will get the blood flowing, and it might give a better read for the AED when it gets there. So, to answer your question, call 911 always. Start CPR, send someone to get the AED, and after you give like a couple cycles of CPR, use that AED. And unfortunately, that's not a great situation to be in, an unwitnessed arrest. But if you are in that situation, you just do the best you can. All right. I don't think anybody has any. If anybody has any questions, you can add them in. It looks like a decent amount of people logged off. But again, we'll do this. Please share this with your family and friends. We'll be doing it next 3 Mondays at 11 a.m. And everybody stay healthy and safe. And hopefully this COVID-19 will pass soon. Thank you. Have a great day.